Hello, hello, how are you? Welcome to the Fertility Reset Roadmap. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for being here today. I am Brittany Metka, the creator of the Psychology Lab, the creator of the Fertility Reset Roadmap. Today, I'm going to take you through my formula to reset and recharge your fertility. But before we dive in, I want to go ahead and talk about this word fertility with you just for a second, because I think we have this idea that when we hear the word fertility, we mean automatically like baby making, pregnancy, right? Reproduction, which yes, that's true. That's absolutely what fertility means. But there's this other aspect to fertility that I want you all to kind of be aware of. And that is the fact that us as women, when we are fertile, which means that our reproductive system is working, in the way that it should, that is actually a sign of our overall health. So when our reproductive system is working and we are fertile, of course, we can get pregnant, right? But in addition to that, when our reproductive system is working exactly how it should, and it's working perfectly, automatically, that aspect of fertility is really a sign of our overall health and well-being. Because when our menstrual cycle and our month-long cycle is doing what it should do with minimal symptoms and with minimal issues, that is a sign of our overall health and well-being, and that is the ultimate goal. We have grown up, I think, in a society that tries to tell us like extreme period pain is normal, just take some pills, or like hormonal acne, that's typical, just deal with it or use this cream. But those things, although they're common, they really aren't normal. And we need to change that thought. And we need to work on this overall health and well-being. And so that concept of fertility, I want you to kind of just expand that a little more, because here today, we're going to talk about resetting our fertility, which, yes, ultimately, the idea is that it leads you to a pregnancy. But at the same time, when you work on improving your fertility, you're improving your overall health, your well-being, your longevity. And that's good. That's really good news. So let's go ahead and continue just real quick, because today is about you, and I want to make sure that you get as much value and information as possible. So we're going to have a lot of opportunities to get to know each other later on. And so in this presentation, I'm not going to take too much time to tell you about me and my story, but you can follow me on Instagram and learn more about me. But my name is Brittany. I'm a preconception health coach. So I have a certification in health and life coach, but also this emphasis in hormone health for women. I'm also a Nike trainer, I'm an educator, and I'm a mom to Lucia, who's about to turn 1. So that's a little bit about me and my background. I want to welcome you to the Fertility Reset Roadmap. It's possible that you've already started your fertility journey, or maybe you're just starting. And even if not, I'm sure you've been to gynecological visits. Maybe like in my story, maybe you've heard in your visits, maybe you've done like the typical labs, blood work, that are commonly sent, and you've received this message like, oh, your labs look great, go ahead, get pregnant, see you when you're pregnant, right? Or maybe you've been trying to get pregnant and it hasn't happened, and in your appointments, you're getting this message of, well, just relax, it'll happen, keep trying, don't worry so much. Or maybe in your appointments, you're bringing about concerns or problems and you're feeling like they're getting dismissed. All of those things is a part of my story. I spent years, really years on my fertility journey, because like I said before, I used to think fertility was just about getting pregnant. I've since learned that it's not. But in the past, when I first started my fertility journey and I decided to get off birth control in order to get pregnant, I experienced all of these messages. I received them from lots of doctors. And in my story, I actually got pregnant 1 month, just 1 month after stopping birth control. And at that moment, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, this is going to be so easy. But that was actually the start of my years and years and years of struggle, because that pregnancy ended in a miscarriage. And that was the pregnancy that started my deep dive into health and wellness and fertility and my hormones and all of that. So I ended up getting pregnant again later on, having another miscarriage, and then I actually really struggled to get pregnant naturally with my rainbow baby, Lucia, which obviously I finally did because she's here today. But that's all a part of my story, miscarriage after miscarriage with all the labs, but all the labs coming back perfect. And I just I felt like it can't be like this isn't perfect to me. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel good. I don't want to just keep getting pregnant and having miscarriages thinking that this is normal. Like something else needs to happen. But I never really had doctors supporting me in exploring other things. So honestly, I just went off and I explored by myself. Um, I actually found out that my nervous system was a mess. Um, from like a soul aspect, I was like very confused and not really connected with who I am. I also had crazy IBS for years. And if you're the same and you've been diagnosed, you know that IBS is not a diagnostic in itself. It's not like a root cause thing. It's just a blanket diagnostic, like an umbrella that it's just a bunch of symptoms that they call IBS because they don't know what else to call it and they don't know what's really wrong. And again, in my experience with my IBS, I had so many perfect labs, right? The colonoscopia, the endoscopia, there's like nothing wrong, but there's something wrong. And I felt that for years. I just felt this innate like knowing that something's off in my body, and the fact that I'm having these miscarriages, like this can't be normal. So I spent a lot of years really feeling like and thinking that, I'm broken, but I want you to understand and know that you are not broken. You are not. And so if you're on this path to fertility and you've come across issues or struggles or roadblocks on your path, just know that you are not broken. It's just that you haven't been given a real plan yet. Okay, so what you've been told, about pregnancy prep and your fertility, let's not say it's not true. It's true. It's important, but it's not enough. It's not the whole story. And so we go into our appointments and we're okay, you've got to track your ovulation, you've got to know, but just tracking ovulation is not real pregnancy preparation. And all the labs you've done that are coming back like supposedly perfect, that doesn't actually necessarily mean that your fertility is perfect. Okay. And then take your supplements, your prenatal, eat well, and just try and relax. That's not a real strategy, but that's what we're told over and over again, in our appointments. So I just want, to share with you today the missing link, right? And this missing link is what I created, the Fertility Reset Roadmap. And this roadmap is something that focuses on nervous system, gut, your hormones. It focuses on your emotions, and it creates this true body readiness for pregnancy. But not just pregnancy, also really making your menstrual cycle, your monthly cycle, and your reproductive system work to its full potential. So in the 4-phase formula, obviously, we've got 4 phases, yeah. We're going to go over them today. We're going to dive deep into each one so that way you understand, but I just give you here really quickly what we're looking at. So we've got phase number 1, which is all about regulation, calming your nervous system, reducing stress. And I know you've heard in in your doctor visits, like just stress less, okay? And that's frustrating because it's like, well, how do I do that? Or I'm not stressed because, oftentimes we think that. So we're gonna go dive deeper into what does that mean? What does that look like? Then we've got the section phase 2, which is all about repairing. And that's a part where we talk a lot about the gut. And we really talk about supporting detox. And then we've got the release phase, which we focus on trauma, toxins, hormone blockers in our environment and in our lives. And then we've got phase number 4, which is receive, aligning with the timing, conscious conception, even partner prep, because no, ladies, you are not in this alone. We as women, I mean, I did this, and I think it's normal in a sense in society, maybe not with 100% of couples, but us women, we take on about like literally 100% of the fertility responsibility, but we're really only 50% of the equation, right? I mean, it takes 2 to tango. And even that, the men's health too has a big play in the quality of the pregnancy and the success in implantation. So it's really important that we talk about partner prep too. So we're going to dive in, okay? Phase 1, it's all about regulate. We're talking about the nervous system here, okay? Now, the nervous system first, real quick, what is it? The nervous system, basically, if you just think of it as a messenger, okay? The nervous system, it's actually a lot of messengers, but it's a messenger, and it's what's connecting what's going on in our brain and what's going on in our body. And it's sending messages from our brain to our body and vice versa. So it goes back and forth. And our nervous system controls all of the things that are automatic in our body. So our body automatically is breathing. I'm sitting here talking, not even conscious, but I'm breathing, right? Our heart is pumping blood, it's beating. Also, our immunity, our immune system is something that is automatic. Our digestion is controlled there, and that happens automatically. And our hormones as well. The hormones that are working at whatever point in time in our cycle, those are sending messages also and working in a form that is automatic. And our nervous system controls all of that. The problem is in this phase is that those automatic systems, they get interrupted quite often by a thing that we call stress. So we know it today as stress, but what we're going to do today is look a little bit deeper into what is stress, because stress comes about in our lives and comes to our bodies and our minds in ways that we aren't even really totally aware of. In fact, I'm going to share with you just in a couple slides some examples of stress that we don't know about. But so this stress lives in our body, right? And when stress is on in our body, okay, and I'm going to share with you like what that looks like in a little bit. But when that stress is turned on, and turned on in a way that's pretty constant, like all the time, 24/7, day after day, that starts to actually suppress certain functions, okay? When our bodies are in high alert, more often than they should be or all the time, that actually starts to suppress our digestion. So if you suffer from constipation, you can assume that you've probably got something going on with the stress state that needs to be looked at, okay? If you're getting colds all the time, like your immune system is suppressed, there also could be an aspect that's really related to the nervous system. And then if you're having struggle with any sort of fertility issue or reproductive issue, or if you have issues with your menstrual cycle, like extreme pain, acne, a lot of bloat, extreme fatigue, there could be aspects of your nervous system that are actually suppressing certain hormone function, okay? So what does stress look like? There are categories of stress. We've got the fight, the flight, the freeze, and the fawn. And those categories, maybe you've heard of them. I'll just mention them like really quickly because we don't have a lot of time today to dive really deep into them, but it's something you can easily look up. And I'll share with you more ways that we could work together in the future so we could dive deeper. But when we are in these states of stress, so let's call these the categories of stress. When we're in fight, a fight state, like type of stress, we are in a feeling of like needing to control everything. If we can't just like release things to someone else and just let it be and be okay with that, you can assume that you are in a controlling state and your body is just like geared up for threat. Okay. So this shows up like as being controlling or overdoing or being really irritable or even perfectionism. Like if you just can't let go, you could assume that you are in sort of this fight state. Flight is more of this like idea of I need to escape. Okay. It's also read as stress in the body, but it shows up more as anxiety, as overworking, maybe constantly researching, or this like inability to rest. Those are sort of like the feelings that show up in our bodies. And it's just this urge to like physically or emotionally or mentally run away because you just can't handle being there. The freeze phase is sort of this like, I can't do anything concept. You know, you don't have this confidence in yourself. And so your system really just shuts down. You know, maybe you're feeling numb or disconnected or this fatigue or procrastination, or you just shut down because you just don't have this energy to do things, but it's because you don't feel like you can. And then the fawn type of stress, that is this need to please. That's the typical people pleaser. And it's like this fear of confrontation. And so you don't want, you just tiptoe around everything because you don't want to cause any issues or problems, because you need to feel safe, and feeling and avoiding conflict and abandoning your own needs is how you think that you can feel safe. That's fun. Okay. So you might not stand up for yourself in a situation. So when we're talking about the nervous system and these stress states, there are a couple different ways that we can do healing of the nervous system. And that healing comes in a somatic form, which is very much body oriented. So breathing, vagus nerve activation, journaling, meditation fits in there. But then we've also got this soulful aspect to healing as well. So stress state is turned on, the nervous system is like in overdrive. And when that happens, our hormone function, our digestion, our immunity, ovulation is not happening like it should. And how do we heal that? So healing comes, the nervous system healing comes in these two ways. And so somatic, which means body, just pure like body stuff, and then the soul stuff. And I share this with you because this was very much a part of my journey. So when we've got the body healing, we've got things like the breath work, the vagus nerve stimulation that can come also with, or activation, I'm sorry, that can come with humming. Yeah, there's a lot of things with listening too, with tapping. We can do journaling, even gentle movements. So like very gentle yoga and stretching can work, and cold exposure if you like that. But we've also got this other aspect of soulful healing. And in my journey, this was a huge part of my nervous system healing, because my nervous system was in like crazy overdrive. And of course, I did it all. I did the breath work. I do the journaling still. I don't do it all today, but I have tried a lot of different things, because I think it's really important that you try a lot of things to discover like what resonates with you. What do you connect with? My message for you here today is not to like write this list down and do it all. No. Like remember these things and try them, but stick with what really resonates with you. You might not like cold exposure, and in fact, I don't. It's very hard for me, but I love journaling. Like journaling for me just helps me get what's in my brain out. And then the soulful aspect. So for me, this soulful aspect of healing is just knowing who you are. Who am I? Okay. But you can do that in so many ways. And in today's world with virtual access, like there are so many tools out there that we can get to know ourselves. And there are very spiritual aspects, and obviously religion is a part of that, but we also have astrology and human design. And those are very spiritual things. which you can use to get to know yourself. But there are other things that help you get to know yourself, like the Enneagram and personality tests. I don't know about you, but in high school and like in middle school, we were always doing these like career aptitude tests. And in fact, I love those because they help you know what your strengths and your weaknesses are. And that's getting to know yourself. I think those are really powerful. But then we also have these creative hobbies. For me and my story, I very much am an artist. I grew up always drawing and painting. And then in fact, in university, I studied art. And then in a time in my life, in my later 20s, I promoted my work. I was a painter for several years, like painting and promoting and selling my work. But I realized it, like when that moment of my life like came to a natural culmination, I realized for me that my art and my work as an artist, I didn't want to sell my work. Like I didn't want my work out there necessarily to like make it into a career and live off of it. I realized that my time as an artist was like years of healing. Like I healed myself through my art. And how did I do that? It's because when you put your soul into your creative activities, you are learning who you are healing maybe even difficult aspects of yourself or shadow things. And that's so beautiful because it's like healing in a way that we don't always relate with healing. Okay. And our creative activities, our creative hobbies get our nervous system out of this stress state and into a more calm state. And the more we do it, the more we can heal. And so creative hobbies, I think, are really beneficial. But so I painted, but you could write, or you could sew, or you could garden. You know, there are so many things that work for that. And then there are so many more things. This is just a teeny tiny list. But I hope that opens up for you, you know, and inspires in you some ideas. So that's about healing the nervous system. Let's backtrack just a little bit because I did tell you it's really important that we talk about this aspect of stress. And I just say stress because it's like the word that we understand that's easy to understand. But in our daily lives, we are bombarded by stress, okay? And each one of us, so as an individual, have a limit to the amount of stress that we can handle. So I want you to imagine, I'm gonna have it right here for a second. Like I want you to imagine that your stress limit is like a cup. Okay, this is my stress limit here. And our stress cup fills up. It fills up when we are confronted with stress. And when it fills up to the top, it starts to overflow. And when it overflows, that is the proof that like nervous system is in high alert. I'm in a stress state and I need to calm down. I need to get back to a calm state. When it starts to overflow, our body gives us signals. It's just that we need to recognize those signals. So I mentioned to you some things like being really controlling, that anxiety, irritability, all of those things are our body's signals that this is starting to overflow. But there are some other signals. So if we're not ovulating, or if our menstrual cycle is it like way out of whack, if we have crazy symptoms with our periods or before our periods, those are also, that's our body telling us something, that something's off. Okay. So, but what's really important to know about this cup is that this cup is filled up by things that are really unexpected in our lives. I've got a list for you there. I'm going to go over some of it with you. So things in our daily lives that cause stress in our body, but we are not aware of, are things like drinking caffeine on an empty stomach. Now, I know it's so common and sometimes it's a really hard habit to break, but that is something that, okay, in the morning I woke up, I had caffeine instead of like a fulfilling breakfast or something nourishing. That's gonna fill up my cup a little bit. So no, I'm not overflowing because of it. My nervous system's not freaking out because of it, but it is gonna start to fill up that cup. And then if I am in a hurry that day and I run out and I didn't eat breakfast and I have a crazy blood sugar spike, well, that cup is just going to fill up a little bit more. And then maybe I'm just so busy at work, like there's a lot of stress going on at work, that like obvious stress, we're going to fill up that cup a little bit more. Okay. And then I don't know what happened that day, but I just like, I did not have time to eat lunch. And so I basically skipped lunch, or maybe I just ate like a quick teeny tiny little salad, just lettuce and some carrots, but it wasn't really nourishing. That's going to fill up my cup more. And we're only at like midday, right? Now, if I'm over exercising or under exercising, that's going to add more stress. Scrolling on Instagram, that concept of perfectionism, like I talked about, all of these things listed here are going to keep adding. And some of the things that we're really not aware of, right? Multitasking all day long, eating while we're really stressed. Also, it's better just to like relax and wait to eat if you're really in a stress state. Our skincare products, makeup and lotion and creams and all of that, when they have ingredients in them that are called perfume or fragrance, those are actually really toxic to our system and are causing stress, holding your pee for too long, actually. And so all of these things are making our cup fill up and then overflow. And if we're doing that day after day after day, and we're never emptying the cup, then we have got some problems with our nervous system. So how do you empty this cup? Well, the cup empties with all of these things that I share with you. Those somatic activities, the meditation or the breath work or the journaling, and also the soulful things, the things that really just help you get into a calm space. Exercise helps, but not over exercising, okay? Sleeping really well, really getting good sleep and prioritizing that helps you empty your cup. So that's what we're looking for there with the topic of nervous system and phase 1. We're going to go ahead and move on to phase 2. I didn't say, but at the end, we will do questions. And so if anything comes up, you could just leave it in the chat if you want to. There's no problem. Or just save your question until the end. So in phase 2, we are focused on this concept of repair. And repair, a lot of focus in repair, it's on the gut. Okay, but we also talk about the liver, but there's so much that happens in the gut that we're not aware of. And there is a huge connection with our gut health and our hormone health as well. Okay. And so it's really important to know that our fertility and our reproductive health is not just about hormones, but other systems in our body need to function so that way then the hormones can function properly, right? So I already mentioned how the nervous system controls the hormone function. And so if you're in this overdrive, but also your gut function has a really huge connection to hormone function as well, okay? And so when we're talking about gut, there are categories here. With our gut, we're talking about digestion, there's this aspect of the gut lining that's really important, the microbiome in our gut. There's this topic of inflammation that can or not happen in the gut. And our gut also helps with, sorry, someone just came in, also helps with detox. And so all of these things are really important to our hormone function. When we're talking about the gut, the number one thing is, you've probably heard you are what you eat, right? We all know that our diet impacts all like what goes on inside of our body and our health. But I want to reframe that, and I want you to think of something. In a way, yes, we are what we eat. It is important that you make good choices, but you're not 100% what you eat. You are actually more what you absorb. Because if your gut, you can eat all the healthy things that you want all day long, but if your gut is not functioning in a way that is allowing it to absorb the nutrients that we are bringing in with the healthy food, we're in the same spot. Like we're not nourishing ourselves because the gut is not absorbing. And so it's really, really important that we help our gut be in its healthiest state. And one thing that's really important specifically with that topic is if you have been on hormonal birth control, even if just for a year, but especially longer, hormonal birth control actually depletes our body of really important nutrients and it dysregulates gut function. So it's super important that you take care of your gut. When you stop hormonal birth control and you want to start to get pregnant, a lot of doctors, okay, stop and just take a prenatal or take some folic acid. But the message that we're missing is you also need gut support. Okay. So that could be taking probiotics, that could be really focusing on hydration, that could be a lot of things. And I'm mentioning to you some things here. And for every person, it's going to be different, but really paying attention to your gut function is so important. So, how do you know if you don't have great gut function? One thing that's so big is if you are not going poo every day, you have some gut issues, okay? I don't know about you, but I lived years like chronically constipated and maybe going to the bathroom twice a week or once a week, if that, thinking that that's normal. I don't know why I thought that was normal. It's just, I don't know. We're just our society, I don't know, it just doesn't educate us that that's not normal and like always in being bloated. But that's not normal. So step number one, if you don't poo every day, you've got some gut stuff that needs to be addressed. Okay. So I've mentioned this a couple of times, I know, and it's not to be repetitive, but it's important. So when we go to our doctor, right, to get like, I want to get pregnant, they send these labs. I mention a lot like these labs aren't enough. Okay. These labs are just the basics. They're not, and I don't mean to say they're not important because yes, of course, like understanding and knowing what is going on inside of us, it's really good and important. Okay. We need to have a look at like what's going inside. But sometimes those basic blood tests, they're not enough. And there are two tests that I would add because they've made the biggest difference in me. Now, testing is not obligatory, right? But it can help you. And one test that really helped me in my process is a GI map. And it's a gut test, and it's a test that tells you everything about what's going on in your gut. And your gut is so connected not only to your hormone health, but also your immune health and your liver health and your nutrient absorption. Like, are you getting the nutrients? And your detox pathways. The gut is really important. So the GI map test is something that is not cheap to do, and it doesn't need to be your first step in your journey. But if you have tried things over and over again, if you've tried the probiotics, if you've tried to drink the water, if you've tried to do all the things to support your gut, but you just feel like something is still off, that's a really, really good test to invest in because it's going to give you so much information. The other test that I do recommend, and again, it doesn't need to be like your step number one. It can be a step later on in your journey if you feel like things aren't working. And it's an HTMA mineral test. So you take a piece of your hair and it tests heavy metals and it tests your minerals because your mineral stores are super important for pregnancy. Like and birth control also depletes those. So if you don't have enough minerals stored in your body, then that could be a reason why your body cannot support a pregnancy. That's definitely a thing. So those are two tests that I would say do them if you feel like you've exhausted all your resources. Okay. And I recommend them because they are tests that are very complete. And it's not just the basic, like they give you a very big understanding of what's going on in your ecosystem. So that way you can supplement for you. So, like I like gut testing more than I like just the hormonal blood test because the hormonal blood tests aren't always giving us enough information. So for your gut repairing, hydration is so important, but not just drinking water, drinking electrolytes, really important. Okay. If you have any more questions about gut, drop them in the chat and we'll go over them in the end. So What can you do for your gut? I already just kind of mentioned, but like I didn't skip ahead. The GI map test, like I told you, is so complete because it's going to tell you all about the bacteria living in your gut, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and whatever bacteria is not living in your gut, but you need, because we do need a super diverse microbiome. But one thing that I do, and which I would recommend that you try this before you invest in an expensive test, we need a big variety in our diet to support that gut microbiome. So what I like to do, and I live by this, and I still do this when I grocery shop, I live by this concept of the rainbow diet. I'm not a big fan of, like, let's say diet and restricting, but this idea of the rainbow diet I love. And what is it? It just means that when you go to the grocery store, the grocery store, what you want to do is try to buy the rainbow. Okay. So obviously we're talking fruits and vegetables. And I don't know if you like what I used to do in the past, and I noticed this because I started practicing the rainbow diet. My staples were onion, tomato, lettuce, and my fruits were like banana, apple, okay. What color are those things? We've got one green, we've got one red, and a couple yellows in there, okay? But that's missing a lot of colors. We're missing reds and purples and oranges and variety of green because there are so many variations and shades of green. So what do I do now? I don't really like make a grocery list per se. I go and I shop with my eyes in the produce section. And what am I trying to do? I'm trying to make sure that in my cart, I have gotten every single color represented. So that way, like, let's say I shop on a weekly basis. That way, in 1 week time, I'm eating all the colors. And so I've got maybe the purple grapes. Maybe I go for the dark green lettuce instead of the light green lettuce. Maybe I go for arugula instead of lettuce. Make sure I've got like the orange pepper instead of the red pepper, right? I think you get what I'm saying, right? So try to get all the colors and make sure all the colors are represented every single week, because that's going to feed and help create a healthy microbiome. Okay. So variety is key. And then another thing I do, which helps, is actually try to buy just maybe one thing a week that's totally different from what you normally eat. So like, for example, when I go, I look for things that I've never seen before because I live in Colombia, which is like paradise for fruits and vegetables. So it's easy to find like a variety of stuff, and it's easy to find new things that I don't know. Like, oh, that thing, I've never tried that before. Let's get it. Okay, maybe I have to Google like how to use it or how to eat it. But that's fun, right? And then we're helping support our systems even more. So variety. Hydration, this is super, super key. Hydration, it doesn't just come from drinking water. It comes from electrolytes, because water water today is just stripped of the minerals that we need. And so electrolytes really help. If, sorry, I have, if you've got so much gut issues and then trying to eat healthy or eating the rainbow or drinking water is just not helping, you might want to just temporarily consider ditching the gluten, the dairy, and the processed sugars. Why? Because those are the three most inflammatory foods. And if you just, and honestly, it's like, it's not hard to eat a really good diet and get rid of these things. It's not hard at all. There will be plenty of things for you to eat. But you might want to try to ditch them for like a month and just see how your body reacts. Okay. So those are some things that we can do to really support our gut. And we're going to move on now then to phase 3. So phase 3 in my formula is all about releasing. Okay. We need to release the garbage that's in our bodies, in our minds, that's in our emotions. We need to release it all to then be able to receive. Okay. So what does that look like? Phase 3 looks like this. Phase 3 is all about looking at our environment. And our environment is literally our home. More specifically, it's our kitchens and our bathrooms, because we're going to look at our products, our creams, our lotions, our body wash, anything that comes in contact, soap, with our skin. We're going to look at that. we're going to look at our food. Yes, like healthy food is important in clean eating, and organic is great, but it's not always easy. More important, in my opinion, than that is how you're cooking your food. Okay? Because if you are cooking in your kitchen with things that are Tefal or non-stick, those pots and pans are, every time they're heated, they're releasing chemicals into your food. And so then your food is literally becoming toxic because your food is then full of the chemicals that came from these pots and pans. Nowadays, there are so many solutions. And I'm not the kind of coach that's all about telling you, throw away all your pots and pans, throw away all your makeup, and tomorrow you have to buy more. No, because look, I've been on this path for years already, and my kitchen and my makeup is not perfect, okay? Because those are expensive changes and those are hard things. So what I do is just little by little. So like for example, plastic Tupperware, just maybe like every month I would buy one new glass Tupperware and I would throw away one plastic Tupperware, and I would do that over time. My pots and pans, I mean, I did invest at one time and bought all stainless steel at once, but that didn't mean in the past I didn't just stop using all my other pans. That was also a change little by little. And my makeup, the same thing. Like I don't have 100% clean makeup right now, but I'm doing the best that I can. And when one item runs out, I try to find a healthier replacement, right? So the idea here is not that you get overwhelmed with all these things. Oh my God, I have to do so much to make my body baby ready. No, you don't. You don't have to do it all. But starting little by little can make a big difference. And focusing in your kitchen, I think could be homework number one, because it's huge, because we eat every single day, 3 times a day, right? Or 4 or 5, right? If you're eating more. So making sure that your food, how you're preparing your food. So we want to switch to the silicone. We want the stainless steel, or you want nowadays there are brands that are doing kind of like a non-stick, but it's a lot more healthy. Like it doesn't have the toxic coatings. So that's like our physical space. We're releasing the toxins from our home. But then there's this other concept of toxins that need to be released that are like our traumas and our limiting beliefs. Those look like stories in our head. Like, for example, well, maybe if you're a little bit older in your fertility journey, you're like, I'm behind this. I waited too long. Like, I'm never gonna grow my family because it's too late. But these ideas in your mind, like, I know that they're hard to overcome. It's not that we're necessarily going to overcome these ideas, but we need to try to reframe them. So reframe the old story. I also am a very old mom. Like my baby was born when I was 37 years old. So, but I started to get really comfortable with the idea that, okay, I'm sure I'm an old mom, but I lived a really good life. Like I enjoyed and I traveled, and my husband and I, we were together for a lot of years before starting our family, and we just had a lot of fun. And so we really need to start to reframe all of these ideas, because we're letting them like control us, I believe. And we're putting like this internal pressure on ourselves. So we really need to lighten this emotional load. Um, letting go, letting go of all these messages in our heads that could also be kind of stopping us. They could be creating a block. So you need to rewrite your narrative. And that comes by like focusing on identity work, trusting in the process, which I know it's easier said than done. I know, because I've been there. I've been where you are, but it can be done. Yeah, unpack all this stuff. And how do we do that? Like we use the tools that are out there. We use the human design tools. We use the astrology, the meditation, the inner child work. We use therapists. Like this is when we talk to people about what's going on. Or we do more spiritual healing, like the Reiki, or even massage or constellation readings. So that this is about releasing. So releasing the stuff, the toxic load in our environments, releasing the toxic load in our minds, releasing the toxic load in our hearts. That is all about phase 3, releasing. And then we get to phase 4, the really fun phase, all about receiving, okay? Because essentially what you are doing when you are getting pregnant is you are receiving another soul, you are receiving another life into you to grow it and to nourish it. Okay. And so all of the other phases worked on cleaning up your physical and emotional space in order to create a space within you that feels safe and is ready to receive and welcome life. And this is the phase that's all about aligning our biology with our belief system. So my phases are very much science oriented because we have all this physical stuff and biological stuff that we have to be realistic about. But we have to also touch on that more spiritual aspect, our soul and our belief system, in order to align all of it. And in this phase in the receiving, we do need to talk about supporting ovulation, because even though it's not the whole story, it's obviously an important story. So are you ovulating? Are your eggs optimally healthy? Is his sperm optimally healthy? And if not, there are things you can do. There are supplements that can be taken to support all of this, okay? And we do need to think about building up our vitamins and minerals inside of our body, building up those stores to support. So that's when, like, taking the prenatal before you're going to get pregnant, it's really helpful because you're starting to build up those stores beforehand, right? And you're really like nourishing your body, getting ready, because that little being that's going to be inside of you is going to suck out all of those vitamins and those minerals. It sucks all of it, right? It takes all of it away from you. So that's what we do in phase 4. We look at all that stuff in depth. So this process, this formula, it's not just about getting pregnant, okay? It's about really improving your reproduction, your menstrual cycle, and then it's about becoming. It's about becoming the woman. It's about becoming the best version of you. A woman who trusts her body, a woman who really understands her rhythms, and then leads her fertility journey with confidence and clarity instead of just being confused and a hot mess because I don't know what to do, right? That's what this formula provides you and helps you become. This really calls in the woman who is curious and committed and just done guessing and ready to go deeper. Maybe you're craving support or craving like really grounded answers. This process can help you. And so you're not just prepping for pregnancy, you are, but you're also becoming the version of yourself that eventually motherhood will require. So what I want to do now is invite you into the Pregnancy Prep Lab, okay? The Pregnancy Prep Lab is a 4-month live program, group program, where I take you through the fertility reset formula, the 4 phases, but I take you into them in a very deep way, okay? It's not just the what you need to do, but it's the how to do it. And I give you actionable steps, like I give you physical stuff, the meal plan, supplement guidance, rituals. We're going to have live group coaching sessions. Your voice is going to be heard. You can ask questions, get feedback, really feel connected. We're going to have a private community of women where you'll have access to, where we're going through this process together, so you can share or not. You can also be anonymous, because I know sometimes this journey is difficult, but if you want to be heard and you want to collaborate, you can. And then in my pregnancy prep lab, it's a 4-month live group program. You're going to have 2 options. Option 1, you can just go through it and at your own pace and attend all the lives if you want, or watch the recorded ones. But you can also upgrade into some one-on-one personalized coaching. So if that resonates with you and you want some really tailored support, that can be really helpful, because if we're going to do one-on-one coaching, it's going to be super personalized to you. I'm going to ask for your labs. We're going to deep dive just with you and your symptoms and your lifestyle. And I'm going to help take you through the 4-step symptom, but related to you. Because like I said before, this 4-phase system has a lot of stuff in it. It has a lot of steps. It has a lot of options. No, you don't have to do all of it. And so in one-on-one personalized coaching, I'm going to help you identify what are going to be your biggest needle movers. Okay. So that's the Pregnancy Prep Lab. You're going to be getting the invitation by email, so you can sign up and join there. But I do want to let you know that this is the first time I launched this program, which I'm so excited about. And so you get to be a founding member. The price for you is like the lowest of the low it will ever be, because you get founding member price. And then we're going to run it for 4 months. And then in the future, when I launch the program again, the price will increase. So I just want to let you know that that is a special gift for you. So thank you so much for being here. We went over a lot of stuff. I'm so happy that you were here, and I hope that this was meaningful for you. This is going to be recorded. You are going to get the recorded version also in your email. And then also over the next few days, expect in your email some documents like the summary of what we did here today, the summary of the Fertility Reset Roadmap. And then, of course, you can follow me on Instagram at The Psychology Lab for more information. I will open it up now for questions. If you have any, go ahead and put them in the chat. Or if you want to open up your mic, that's also okay. I've got one question here. So I have PCOS, eat healthy, but I haven't gotten pregnant in 6 years. Where do you recommend I start? I use ovulation strips as well. Okay, so it's good to know that you use the ovulation strips, but have you actually 100% confirmed ovulation? In order to 100% confirm ovulation, so that's going to be step number 1. Like, are you really ovulating? In order to do that, ovulation strips, yes, are important. Like, you've got to do them. But in addition to the ovulation test strips, because they're not always, the ovulation test strip will tell you that the hormone peaked to spike and like send ovulation. But did you ovulate? So how do you test did you ovulate? After ovulation, your body temperature, it needs to spike. It's going to spike. And that body temperature spikes, that proves that ovulation did happen. So how do you test the temperature spike? The temperature spike needs to be tested by in the morning, every single morning before you roll out of bed. Like, obviously you have to kind of wake up because you need to grab a thermometer, leave the thermometer by the side of your bed, test your temperature every single morning. So it's before you step out of bed. That's like your baseline temperature for every single day. Now, before ovulation, that temperature, it's going to be low. Not low, I mean, it's going to be low for you, right? Okay, so that temperature is going to be during your whole follicular phase. It's going to be this low temp. Then when the ovulation strip shows the spike of the hormone, you're not going to see the temperature spike yet. You're going to see the temperature spike like the day after. Okay, so that temperature is going to be there. And then ovulation happened here. And then boom, temperature spike is going to happen here. And that temperature actually needs to stay high for the rest of your phase until menstruation. So the ovulation strip isn't the 100% like tool to know that you ovulated. You've got to also test your BBT. It's called BBT, BBT. Oh my God, I forgot. Basal-based temperature. Okay, so you need to check in on your temperature to confirm as well. And then if it has been so long, what test is your partner doing? And then, because I would recommend certain supplements for estrogen dominance. So like a calcium D-glucarate, we need to make sure that you are detoxing your estrogen, releasing it out of your body. So that's the you part. But then the male part too, it's not a bad idea to supplement for sperm health. So zinc is really good, selenium, And obviously those things you can look up and talk to your doctor about. But we also need to look at supplementing for the sperm quality and the egg quality as well. So hope that was helpful. If there's any other questions, we can take a minute here and wait. Great. Okay. So it looks like there are no other questions, but always I am available in DMs on Instagram. So pop in there. Again, pay attention to your emails because you're going to be getting the invite into the pregnancy prep lab. We go live June 16. So there's still some time. But also, if you would like to connect and ask me more specifically about the program, about what we're going to do, I'm more than available. So again, just contact me through DM on the Psychology Lab on Instagram, and we'll set up a time to meet to answer any questions. Thank you so much for being here. It was such a pleasure. Thank you, Anna. See you there. And we will be talking soon. Bye-bye.